Welcome to Money Hangout once again. Every week we talk to you about one important question that you may have. We try and figure out what most of our readers are asking based on the questions that we get, and we get such questions in large number. So today we are going to talk something very significant. That is something which is everybody's top of mind. This is brought to you by Birla Sun Life and Value Research. The key thing which we are going to talk about, we have been working on this question for a while. We wanted to give you some technical answer, and the key question is that all that you don't know about SIPs. How do SIPs work over a very long period of time? Because evaluating SIP performance today, it is possible to actually validate how SIPs have done in any fund over the last 25 years, ever since they have been available. They have been available for a while now. We had, and so what we did was, today SIP has gained popularity, but theoretically and technically it was possible to start your SIPs nearly 25 years ago. Not too many funds were available then, but at least doing the simulation on quite a few funds was possible. So over this 25-year, all the possible funds, we did a comprehensive exercise. We did a we did an estimation of, we did a SIP in each and every fund over the last 25 years for variety of time period, for 1 year to 10-year time period in each and every fund. We did this simulation. This way we came across a very large data point. This translated into possible combinations and possible combination of different funds, different time period. So, and we generated a return. We calculated the return on the SIP made in such funds over different time period. This turned out to be number crunching on 3.67 lakh individual investment account. What would have been the performance if somebody was doing a SIP on a continuous basis for any period between 1 to 10 years and separate periods, and excuse me, and that too for that too on a continuous basis. So doing that rolling evaluation on 1 to 10-year period on these 3.67 lakh points, the return, the thing that we came across was quite startling. But more importantly, I will tell you that why we did this exercise in the first place. Everybody knows that SIP works, and everybody does a small illustration that how it did in a rising market, how it did in a falling market, and how it did in a market which was not going anywhere. And I don't think that is a really useful way of evaluating this. Not that the outcome or the finding that we have come across as a result of this massive exercise is any different. Of course, it just validates a certain viewpoint, but we will get into the outcomes or the findings of that study in a while. The key point is that just looking at a narrow time frame and seeing what the performance of your SIP is quite straightforward. Markets rise fairly steadily. They never rise in a hurry, or the rise is always gradual. We have long period of in the phase of the market when the market goes nowhere. It goes up by a couple of percentage points, goes down by percentage points, remains there for a long period of time, and that is the very frustrating period. The real advantage comes for SIP when the market crumbles, and that is generally the starting point, and that is generally the point when investors get excited about investments. Every time investors get easily excited about investments, that is generally the time after which the markets take fall or crumble or fall sharply. And whenever market fall is always sharper than the kind of rise that we see. Rise is always steadier than the big fall which we see in a brief period of time. So as a result of it, SIP has its value, even if you are doing your investment for a medium term. But why we wanted to do this long term exercise is that SIP should be a habit. Investors should be making it a habit for their lifetime, for the phase of their life in which they will be earning, because that is the only time when you will have surpluses, and that is the only time when you should be saving for the future consumption. That is the time, and it should be a gradual thing, and that in itself reduces the risk. But what about the possibility of long term investment not working to your advantage? what is the possibility of long-term disaster? You do your investment with great discipline, and the likelihood of not things not working out very nicely. So the good news is that it works out nicely. If you are a long-term investor, the longer the SIP period, the lower the chances of incurring a loss. You know, look at this. A 1-year SIP subjected an investor to a loss of only 20, a 1-year SIP, which means you should not be doing your SIP just for 1 year and then taking your money out. But even a 1-year SIP subjected an investor to a loss of 22.5% of cases, and a 5-year SIP reduced this percentage of 22.5%, reduced it to 3%, 3.3%. And if you did your SIP for 10 years, it got reduced to 0.3%, which means we are virtually able to eliminate the possibility of losing money if you stretch your SIPs for 10 years. Of course, it's not an easy thing. It requires discipline. It requires forgetting about it and remaining focused on your investment, because in any 10-year time period, you will have phase of exuberance and fear. So sticking to 10-year time frame. So this is the basic outcome. A 10-year time frame eliminates the possibility of losing money, virtually eliminates the possibility of losing money with an SIP. The longer the SIP period, the higher the chances of double-digit return, which I think is quite interesting, because increasingly this double-digit return is also a moving target. Double-digit return simply means that it's decent, or fancier return or higher return than fixed income. But important thing is that substantially higher return can be achieved if you elongate your period. A 1-year SIP had over 55% chance of earning more than 10%, while uh, in a 10-year SIP the probability improves to 77%, which I think is quite, doing your SIP for 10 years and earning more than 10%. If the probability is 77%, it's quite a, 3/4 of a possibility that you'll be earning that return. And this is taking into account the full market cycle of 3/4 kind, because this is for the period 92 to 2007, 1992 to 2017. So during this period there have been worst of times. So we are also taking into account the worst phase of the market. You bought it at the market high, sold it at the worst of the market in any 10-year period. So this will be the situation. What if you start off at wrong time when the markets are at your peak? You are very likely to incur losses in the first couple of years, but just stretch your SIP period to 4 years and you get back to green. Which means that this is a question which many investors are asking nowadays, that the market is overheated, should he start his SIP? Assuming that you start your SIP in the past 25 years, if you would have invested at the worst of times, got started from there on, and did your SIP for next 4 years, you always made money. So 4-year SIP, and the state of the market doesn't matter. Of course, all my study, all these observations, they have a catch. Making money or not making money is a psychological thing. If you don't make any loss over a 4-year period, you have actually lost, because there is an opportunity loss. Your money did not go. But I'm primarily talking in terms of arithmetic, absolute terms, that there is an opportunity loss, but the pain is not as much, because psychologically we are very comfortable with not losing money. For a short investment time horizon of 1 or 2 year, even SIP can't save you from losses. But you can make reasonable return by persisting for 5 years and more, which means that 4-year time period you always broke even, and 5-year time period always made you reasonable return. The opportunity loss also disappeared, which means 5-year SIP, you are okay, you are home. And even taking into account that you are beginning to invest at the worst of times, you are not necessarily picking the finest of fund. Still then you make money on a 5-year SIP. But all this is based on the universe of the good, bad, and the ugly funds available to Indian investors in the past. Your performance can be substantially improved of doing better, with superior funds which have a superior track record and a methodical process and a uh, a set of people who are managing funds more diligently, because this study is based on the universe of funds which are available to, or investment options available to Indian investors in the last 25 years. I would say that you can enhance your performance substantially by taking guidance from our ratings and using your own judgment and the guidance that you get at Value Research Online. Uh, and the choice matters. Persisting with poor performers entails a huge opportunity cost. Over the 10-year period, the bottom performer delivers less than half of what the top performing fund returns. So, if you persist with your losers, then you will earn half as much. You will be okay, you will be well off, but you will not be that well off. You will be half as well off as the superior performing fund. So, uh, so keep coming to Value Research Online often. Do your investments, review it carefully. Monitor the performance. Don't do it every day, but do it every now and then. Do it every 6 7 months or a year or 2 year, so that you are not persisting with your poor performance. Because when you are doing the hard work, when you have done the hard work primarily by earning that money and saving it, make it work harder, and then enhance the performance by doing little bit extra. That little bit extra will not require serious effort. So I wish you very best. uh, the lessons are very straightforward. You have to do SIP. You have to do SIP for the long term. And to enhance the return further, there is one thing which has not been captured in this study, is that when you are investing, when you are doing your SIP for the long term, try and revise your amount, because most investors think of SIP in a constant term, that you have to do 5,000 rupee. All the tools that you see on the website is that if you invest 5,000 rupee for next 25 years, how much it will be worth. The real life is little different. If you are able to save 5,000 rupees today, 5,000 rupees a month today, you should be able to save 6,000 rupees next year. And you should be, if not next year, 5,500 rupees next year if your salary goes up by 10%. Likewise, so try and revise your SIP amount every year with your rising income, and you will be substantially better off, because the return which you will get is entirely dependent on the amount that you invest. So more you invest, and gradually the power of compounding and the ability to save more over a period of time will also be one of the crucial determinants, will be a crucial factor. So do SIP, increase your SIP amount everywhere, every time your income rises. Choose good funds and keep coming back to Value Research Online to monitor their performance, to make sure that you are always invested in good funds.